So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live peoples, recorded for YouTube and also for Ustream .tv and YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. So welcome everybody watching on YouTube, and thank you for watching and subscribing. I appreciate all the comments and try to answer them as soon as possible. So if you've got any requests or anything you'd like me to go over in more detail, do leave a comment, preferably a nice one. So I've been quite a while in this book. I love this book. This is the Colin Thompson Fantastique colour book. And I'm working in the pastels, and these aren't particularly set, but I've blended them in. And because you're blending them quite hard into a shiny surface, they're not particularly loose. So it's not actually set with water, but it's behaving itself quite well. But you still have to have the greaseproof paper or the tracing paper. I will set it eventually. I've also started another page here, and this one I was blending, and then I took a very damp brush, sorry, just a very light damp brush, and just squished over the top, and that made the pastel set. So that is now become watercolor. So basically, if I remember, it doesn't actually remember if you go over them. So it's been blended, but it's still kind of a pastel. I just take a very, very lightly damp brush over the top. And then once that's dry, that is going to be set. And these are not watercolors, these are pastels. But when you use them wet, they react like a watercolor. So they will dry on a page like a watercolor. So you have all these beautiful, wonderful colors, but they are technically a pastel. Oh yes, King Arcus, she loves that book. Yeah, I've neglected it a little bit because I did my first one in watercolors. These are the Derwent watercolor pencils, and again loved a little bit of color and then manipulating everything with a damp rigger. I've worked with Inktense, and I forgot what else I've done in here as well. There's lots of water-based media that I've used. This is Derwent watercolor pencils. Absolutely love this. Don't think there's any pencil lines. The same with the Derwent. Don't know what that one is as well. I think this is this looks very bright. I think this is again the Derwent watercolors. I've done a few videos on them, and I do forget sometimes whether I use Inktense. This one is actually pastel. So a lot of pages need finishing off. This is Inktense. So I do have one or two pages that I really need to be finished now. I think I started that one in Inktense, and I put some little sparkles on the baubles. So I do need my hand, if I'm working on a bit that's been used, I have to have this paper to stop it smudging, but I worked around with it. I'm just going to do in this little section here that I've forgotten, so I'll zoom in and just see if I can get back into a little bit of focus without making everybody too sick. And then we could do with our settee. Sorry, the dog's having a moment. Just to go see what's going on. So the minute I start recording, there's trouble. What's going on? Come in here, Alfie. Sorry about that. It's the Alfie that's in the trouble. No, she's still carrying on. Sit down, Alfie. Good boy. So, where was I? I was zoomed in, and I was just going to find Sooty. So I've got all my pastel pencils here, and I've mixed them all together, and I find they're quite easy to get in and out of. So they're in colour order from pale to dark, and it took a while to do it. It took about an hour, but I went through some different pastel pencils to find out if I could get them all in order, and then I can take one out and put it back. And I don't actually bother about the names or the numbers on this particular set, because this is a mixture of the vintage pastel pencils and the new Derwent pencils, and because there's a mixture, there's different numbers on them and different names, so I've actually just put them in kind of colour order to see if I could get my colours in some kind of order. So if I'm after a yellow, I know that if I go here, I'm going to get a cooler one, and if I go to here, I'm going to get a warmer one. And I kind of like working like that. It's a little bit easier for me. If he says show the puppy. Show the puppy. Shall we show the puppy? We have a puppy moment. I think Alfie's if I leave the camera on, he'll be upside down there. Alfie. Alfie. Here's the boy. Hello, it's a pretty boy. You've been a good boy. This is the Alfie. This is a spoilt boy. You're going to go to sleep. You see, Alfie. Oh, you want me to play with your ears all the time now, do you? So this is Alfie, who's actually going to sleep now. We keep calling him a puppy, but he isn't. He's about 2 and a bit now. But he's spoilt, aren't you? Spoilt rotten. He's so cute, bless him. But he's very naughty. He's very naughty. Oh, hi Sandy, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else is popping in? Hi Carol. We're just having an Alfie moment. He's going to demand I do this all day now. Aren't you? What? Have I stopped? How dare I stop? Oops. How dare I stop? Don't stop, Bunny. You just think I can do this all day, do you? He would have you doing this all day. He's gorgeous. He's spoilt. He's a spoilt boy. He's a spoilt boy. You're going to go into there and go to sleep now? No. Come on, good boy, under there. That's a good boy. Yep, he's got my daughter's old onesie. So he's got a big curly blanket under there, so he's a happy boy. Oopsie. Back onto the page. Come in focus. So that's the problem with a live show. Are your puppy spot? He's not a puppy, he's 2.5, but we call him the puppy. He's the baby. He's the baby. So apologies if you're watching this on YouTube, but we have to have our puppy cam moments. We try to keep them to the end, but I think Alfie insists. I've forgotten the blanket in my cold dining room. Come studio. So I wanted to work about there, so just turn the camera very careful. Hopefully the light's not too bad. That may just be okay. I think the light's okay. Yeah, King Guy says he wants more. Yes, he would have you all day. Your hands hurt. My daughter goes home, it's Mummy, my hands hurt, because that's all he wants you to do is to snuggle. Just got a reflection right on that little bit there. Nope, it does not like the angle. With the light. It's a very strange room, is mine. It's a very strange room. Now, it looks very dark, that, so hopefully that should be okay. There was just a little bit of a reflection there. Are we going to behave ourselves? Just have a look for the light. Sometimes you get the camera set up for one thing and then it completely doesn't like it for something else. I might just press that for a laugh. See if that does anything. Right. It seems to be just at that side there. Does not like that light. You're welcome, Ify. You're welcome. Alfie likes to be shown about. I just seem to have got the camera at just the wrong angle. Oh yes, Kingo, we are. It was very nice today, very sunny, and that's why it's bright. And if it's bright, it's not very nice for anything else. So I may have to give up with that page and do something over here. So I'll work in that little section there, and I'll work in that section up there. That looks not so bad. I don't know why it's so bright. I can't imagine why it's so bright. Does that look a bit better? If it's too bright, just have a look. Sometimes it works okay, and sometimes it doesn't. So I normally just go around, and I'll just have to put those out. I just look through these colours and pick normal vintagey colours. I like old colours for these particular books, and I just, again, little scribble of colour, very little colour. Do not want a lot of colour. Oops. And then just gently push that into there. And we could possibly have a little bit of a highlight. See if we can find a colour just to put some emphasis on the sides. I like making little bits of shadow areas. Makes things a little bit more unusual. And although we only have a very shiny surface, we can get a little bit of contrast in there. The best way would to do two colours next to each other and then blend them, rather than try and put one on top, because this shiny paper doesn't have a tooth. Oh, thanks, Kingo. Thank you, King. It's sometimes difficult to see what's happening. So again, I'm going to put, and these are very soft and chalky. This is one of the original ones, and the other one was a harder pencil, and there is a slight difference. And then I'm going to put again, this is oh, my door, sorry, excuse the puppies. So I put a bit of a contrasting colour, and then we can blend that one in, do the pale first, and then blend that in, and that's just given a kind of a bit of a highlight, a shadow. Alfie, no, that's the door. Alfie, what's this? He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's going under there. He's a good boy. He's going under there. Yeah. And then just a little bit of a smudge over there. and that looks quite vintagey. There's a bit of a highlight right in the middle there, and that's a highlight, and I quite like that. So it's quite natural, that highlight. And again, that's now well blended in, and then the bit of dirt of both colours combined made a really nice label. So I actually use that for labels because I never used to know what to do with the labels. But if you see there, you can get some of this mixed in colour. It's just enough to give a very subtle highlight. A very subtle highlight, which is really quite nice. Just going to turn that just up a little bit. So I think we'll have a yellow olivey colour there. So I've got so many gorgeous colours in these sets. So again, I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to want to use the one next to it, which is a slightly darker shade. Although I might not have much room on there. But that's going to give a nice, and I have bought 3 new, it breaks my heart because they were £5 each, but I bought 3 little colour shapers. Now these are the same, these are by Royal Sovereign, and these are extra firm. These are taper point, and these are clay shapers. I've got a 0 and a 0 cup chisel, a 0 taper point, and a 2 cup chisel. And they are a little bit harder. They're almost the same firmness as the firm one, which is really firm. And these are for clay. But the black ones are firm, extra firm, and the grey ones are supposed to be medium, just firm. But this one is actually quite nice. But these are really hard, and I find that's the best for a colour book, because you really want to grind that in, because we do not have a tooth. Now, I wouldn't use this on pastel paper. I've got some little grey ones and white ones and soft ones. The white ones are the softest. I would use that, but that's quite grounding quite nicely. And it's a little bit tinier, that one, so I treated myself to that, thinking that would make a little bit of a difference. So again, put the 2 colours back in there. So we've got a fawn colour, an orange, a green, and then I kind of look about and see what I have on the other side. A blue, and I'm using all kind of muted kind of blue colours, grey colours. I kind of like these colours. This is a lovely green terra verte, but it is it's the dense one in the vintage set. So I can't tell you these colours because some people can't buy these anymore. But there's some really nice vintagey colours in that section. And then we want a brick red, so we've got terracotta in the new Derwent pastel pencils P640. I want a little bit of terracotta in those bricks, but really using very little. And again, I'm going to use this little one. And there seems to be kind of a little, it seems to have gone too bright now. Sorry. That's okay. It can't be so bright. I don't know if that's any better. It just means I can't see what I'm doing because I'm almost in darkness. But the light looks better there. You can see the colours. You can see the colours better. So there seems to be kind of a little fox there. So I've used the terracotta, so I need something that's a little bit warmer. And there's a dark sanguine, and I think that's kind of a deepy red brown, a bit of a fox colour. So we'll just give him just a little bit, and then where I've missed, I'll become paler once I've moved that colour around, and I quite like that. So I haven't done very much to him. and then we can just give him a highlight. And remember, it's not set with water, so I can still get a highlight on the paws just using that little eraser. And his feet would be white. So just carefully brush it off. Then that can go back into there. And then we've got a little cottage, so I think we'll have an orange earth for the cottage. And this is one of the vintage crumbly ones, and they are very crumbly, so you don't need very much at all. And we can blend that in and push it about to make sure it's well blended. We could have put a tiniest kind of just for contrast, just to give it a bit of life. I've just realised that actually is a book. It's a different book, is that? So I may have just saved that. That's a book. Sometimes you see things and sometimes you don't see it until you're actually colouring them. But I like that little bit of contrast in there to make it look like a little cottage. It's quite a darker brown, is that? Let's see if I can zoom back in as if it would like it now, kind of light. I might like that slightly better. So if anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps. Thank you for joining me. This is a live stream with live peoples. Recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm just going to bring a bit of dark down that side. You think? And again, I love this quiet way of working. I'm just picking one pencil up, giving it a bit of a blend, and then I quite like the little highlights on that one, but I think I want a little bit of a highlight in the middle of this one. Right down the middle. It must be quite well ground in. And sometimes when you're working, it's different than I worked a couple of weeks ago on a different side. And you can tell that sometimes because you don't ever be in the same mood for the same colours. So that's another thing that I've realised. Sometimes the colours are completely different. So we've got a bit of a fish here. So let's give it a bit of a fishy green colour. And I'd love the fact that the pencils just slide back in with a little effort. It's normally quite nice. And we have some, they look like mice, but they're in toadstools. They're in shells. So that's a strange thing to have a little mouse in a shell. I kind of like this colour. Again, starting off a little bit of colour. A very little colour, and then we can blend it out. So it gives a bit of variation. And then we'll have white mice. So the little bodies are white. And of course we need a nice blue. A nice blue book will show those up. So we've got that pastel blue. Could you show the door, darling, please?
Yeah, I'm going to go and get some now.
Thank you. So we've got a bit of a blue there. And again, I always like these olivey colours. I do like these olives. And I like the fact that I get a pencil out and I put it away, because sometimes I used to end up with hundreds of things all over the desk. And I lose things, I drop things. So I like the fact that everything's actually away. So I'm going to make that quite a blue. Oh, Alfie. He opens doors. Come here, mister. Come on. Put a nice soft orange on that one. And I really like these vintage pastels. They are so crumbly. They're just like ordinary pastels, but they're in a lovely pencil. They are really, really soft and crumbly. So I'm just going to very carefully just give a little bit of some kind of a highlight to the label, and then that makes the labels. I'm going to get my little brush out, my little fluffy brush. Just to brush away all the little tiny bits. I've got the chocolate. There's 3 colours of chocolate, 3 shades of chocolate, and any pencil that's the colour chocolate is okay by me. And that's the one that I'm using for all the wooden areas, all the wooden shelves. So I normally put that in last. I think that's a shell. Not sure. I think that's a tennis ball. Quite sure what it is, but we'll give it a bit of green in that one. And I'll use the little tiny edge blender there, because it's just that bit sharper. My daughter catches the bus from a different college, so I think we're going to have a bit of this colour for the shell. So you can either leave the white and then have a paler version of the colour, or you can put 3 colours together. And I will actually clean this little blending tool because I want pale to light. So if you put 2 colours together, you get a lovely blend, or if you leave the section white, you get a paler version, but you get a nice blend from dark to light. So sometimes that's quite nice as well. And I do tend to work in the same way in different books, and I just find it a really easy, quiet way to work. Has anybody got any questions? Oh, thank you, Iffy, thank you. So I'm going to do these long ones now here. So thinking we might have a little bit of blue, I think. And again, I like the old-fashioned grey blues, although that says indigo, it's pale indigo. So I think I might just get a darker indigo. There. Or even a bit of that. And I used to blow all the dust off. I don't now. I just mush it in because that dust is already colour. And then go over the top to give just a little bit of a light on there. Maybe a darker blue now, or a deeper blue. Oh, I don't know, that's a French grey. There's lots of kind of cool greys around, so I might just do a little bit of a darker one there, just for a change. So Alfie's escaped and he's just standing there barking his socks off. So apologies for the terror. And I think I want, I think this one is Prussian blue, but again this is a soft, my little monster. My husband should have taken him in the car. My daughter gets the bus from the next village, so we have to pick her up. So that's got a little bit of a highlight, and then just use that little bit of a, it gives a paler version of it, and it just covers the thing. I'm just going to have to do something with him. Excuse me a second. Do you think you're going to stand there barking all day? Come in here. Under there. Thank you. Don't sit looking at me like that. You're the one that's barking. Right, I just need a colour in the middle, and I think it's going to be a green. Let me have a look. I need a deep, kind of a deepy green. Oh, it looks a nice green. It's a forest green. Just needs to give that a little bit of a brightness. And then again, just smush a little bit of that up there to get the label, the book label, and if it's too much, I can take a bit off. So that's blended quite nicely. So I've got kind of a few darker books there. I'm going to have a bit of a red book. I haven't got any red, so do a bit of a. It can't be a bright red though, because it's we've still got to remember these are supposed to be vintagey books, so you wouldn't really have a bright red, but there were some grungy reds about, some nice deep dark red books. Yeah. And again, you don't have to do them my colours, you can do them your own. I like grungy looking books. We've got a bright book here, so I think we might have to have maybe an orange book, and then we can dull it down a little bit. And this one is the Tangerine, and that's a more modern Derwent pastel pencil, and you can hear the scratches just that little bit different. And again, just give the legs a little bit of colour. Maybe just put a little bit of colour on here. Lift the book up a little bit so it looks like it's a bit faded and worn and a bit dog-eared. And then behind there looks to be like a little wooden door, so I think we could just a little bit of colour. I'm just going to do the brown first. That one's, oh no, it's a dark olive. We need to get to our chocolate colours, don't we? What's that one? This is chocolate to P9 5990. This is from the modern set. So if I just pop that in first, I'm going to use the little one. I've got my little blender, which is the, I think that's a 0 taper point. I'd like to have kept that highlight just on the top, but let's see what happens with this. And then I've got that carmine at the back, that's a bit warmer. It's just to take that start white off. I just didn't like that white at all, so we can get rid of that. Very little effort. And we've got rid of the stark white. Clean that one. Oh, he's gone to sleep now. Oh, he's gone to sleep. So I think we'll do this one next up here. So we've got, I think that's one of those brass pipe things, so they're kind of normally bright yellow. So a bit of a yellow. As if it was brass. And these pencils are not sharpened, they're quite blunt, but it's fine. I'm going to put a yellow book over there actually. I think we'll have a yellow book. So we could do is, seems to be some oranges on there. Could probably do that. A bit of a red. Again, use a little blender because I want to get in those little spaces. And then that little tiny bit over the top. And there's a piece of wood there, and that's a piece of wood. You can have a bit of a flesh coloured there. Bit of a purple book at the back. So these are getting to be some tiny spaces now. And then just a little bit over that. We've got, again, I do all the little windows cad yellow. I like. Oh, do I use gold? There's one called gold. I used to have one called gold, I think. No, cadmium, and that's all the windows to give a light. So it doesn't take long, you just keep picking them off one by one, and soon you've got quite a nice array of colours there. Oh, I've used another orange, never mind. I'm obviously in an orange mood today. You have to think about colour a little bit. I do have to think a little bit about, don't want 3 greens together, and do I need things like that. So you do have to think a little bit about colour. Had a nice deep red. Some maroon colour there. That's quite nice. So thanks for popping in, guys. Hope everybody's well on this Friday, the start of our weekends for some. I don't know if it's going to be nice in England. Normally at the weekend we have rain. And I might just put a tiny bit more there, just to give the impression of a shadow. Going to have quite a nice little orange tint, as if they were kind of brass or some kind of metal. We've got a little pot. I think a little green pot for that. Oh, perhaps a blue. Just a hint on there. Dull that down a little bit. The vase. So I just keep going and picking off little shelves at a time and doing little sections. There's a drawer there, so we want that chocolate colour again. So, anybody else colouring today? What are you colouring? Anybody working in the Colin Thompson book? Still up in this top corner. There seems to be a bed and then a few books. So I'll have one little book that's red. This is why I should put my pencils away. And then we want a bed. And we've got the burnt colour wants to go away. I'll have a bit of a blue quilt, I think. Or blankets. Use that little. And then I do have a flesh colour. I don't know what I've done with it. This is quite a pale colour, just to take that white stark off that top there. So that top colour's done now. Looks a little bit blurred, but it isn't. Got the faces back a little bit. So we'll work on this one. And again, I've seen that. These light windows, I should say. So we put some bright orange in there. So So sorry, I'm just not watching chat. Sometimes I get a bit carried away with what I'm doing. If anybody's got any questions? Just find a way. I'm not sure what colour I want to do that. Oh, so frame. It's just a bit difficult to keep in frame there. So I quite like working like this. It's really quiet. It's easy. And if you had the pencils in an art bag, oh, I've got them, you could just flip through and it would be fine. So, whoopsie, it's going to be better now. So, oh, stop it, that's naughty. So I'll pan out now. It's going to get very, very noisy now. I just stop. I'll just pan out and then I'll stop. You might see a little bit of how far we've got. So thank you for watching.